The alarm goes off at 6:30 a.m. You hit snooze, dreading the commute. By 9 a.m., you're staring at an inbox full of urgent emails. Then come the meetings that resolve nothing, the lunch eaten at your desk, and the exhausted drive home just to do it all again tomorrow. Sound familiar? We've all had that quiet, sinking feeling. There has to be more to life than this. What if I told you there is? Welcome to the 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss, a book that will show you how to break out of the 9-to-5 trap forever. Now, let me be honest with you right up front. This book is polarizing. Some people read it and call it a masterpiece of modern lifestyle design. Others read the title, roll their eyes, and dismiss it as a lazy get-rich-quick scheme. But if you look past the provocative title, you will find that this isn't a book about being lazy. It is a book about being incredibly ruthlessly effective. It's a blueprint for escaping what Ferriss calls the deferred life plan and reclaiming your two most valuable currencies, time and mobility. Before we break down the exact framework, you have to understand where the author is coming from. Tim Ferriss wasn't born a billionaire. He wasn't handed a trust fund. In the early 2000s, Tim was living the ultimate Silicon Valley cliché. On paper, he had achieved the American dream, building a highly profitable sports nutrition company in his 20s. But in reality, he was chained to his desk, putting out fires at 2 in the morning. He had traded his life for a bank balance. This is a crucial lesson for us today. Making more money doesn't solve your problems if your business model demands your constant, exhausting presence. Tim had to physically remove himself from the equation, fleeing to Europe on a one-way ticket just to break his own addiction to being busy. He had to step away to see that the world wouldn't end without him. What he discovered on that trip changed everything. He realized that the conventional rules of work are just socially reinforced illusions. He realized that you do not need to be a millionaire to live like one. And most importantly, he realized that being busy is not the same thing as being productive. In this video, we are going to break down the exact system Tim Ferriss used to go from working 80-hour weeks to just 4 hours a week, while actually multiplying his income. Whether you want to quit your job and travel the globe, or you simply want to negotiate working from home a few days a week so you can see your kids grow up, these principles apply to you. You are about to question everything you knew about work and success. Let's break it down into the 4 steps of the DEAL framework: definition, elimination, automation, and liberation. Step 1. Definition. Changing the rules. If you want to escape the 9-to-5 trap, the very first thing you have to do is redefine the rules of the game. Most of us are playing a game we can't win because we are using the wrong definitions of success. We are taught to be deferrers, people who save all their living for the end of their lives. Ferriss introduces us to a subculture of people he calls the new rich. The new rich don't care about hoarding millions of dollars in a bank account. They care about options. They understand that money is completely useless if you don't have the time or the physical freedom to enjoy it. People don't want to be millionaires. They want to experience what they believe only millions can buy. Think about that for a moment. You don't actually want $1 million. You want the freedom that you think $1 million provides. You want the ability to travel, to wake up when you want, to pursue your passions. But here's the shocker. You can have that exact lifestyle right now for a fraction of the cost if you learn how to separate your income from your time. To understand this, we have to look at one of the most powerful paradigm shifts in the book: the difference between absolute income and relative income. Imagine 2 people. John makes $100,000 a year. Sarah makes $50,000 a year. In the traditional world, John is twice as wealthy as Sarah. This is absolute income. But let's look closer. John works 80 hours a week, commuting in stressful traffic, and is constantly on call. Sarah works 10 hours a week from her laptop, living in a beautiful apartment in Buenos Aires. When you divide their income by the hours they actually work, John is making $25 an hour. Sarah is making $100 an hour. In the currency of the new rich, Sarah is 4 times wealthier than John. She has control over what she does, when she does it, and where she does it. She has optimized her freedom multiplier. But what stops us from becoming like Sarah? What keeps us chained to the desk? It's fear. We disguise our fear as optimism or being responsible. We tell ourselves that things will get better next year, or that we just need to stick it out a little longer. To conquer this, Ferriss introduces a brilliant exercise called fear setting. We are biologically wired to avoid the unknown. When we think about quitting a toxic job or starting a business, Our brains invent these vague, catastrophic anxieties that keep us paralyzed. To conquer this, the book introduces a concept that is arguably its most valuable takeaway: naming your fear. Instead of mapping out your goals, try mapping out your absolute worst-case scenario in excruciating detail. Astonished, what you quickly realize is that your nightmare usually just means moving into a smaller apartment, tightening your budget, or picking up freelance work while you rebuild. It's entirely temporary. But the cost of doing nothing, sitting in a cubicle for 40 years wondering what if, that is a permanent tragedy. Once you put a magnifying glass to your fears, they completely lose their power over you. What we fear doing most is usually what we most need to do. Once you define your fear, it loses its power over you. The risks of stepping off the traditional path are almost always temporary and reversible. But the risk of doing nothing? The risk of sitting in a cubicle for 40 years until you are too old to enjoy the world? That is a permanent tragedy. Step 2. Elimination. The end of time management. Now that we have redefined what wealth actually means, we have to free up your time. And here is where Ferriss drops a massive truth bomb. Time management is a complete illusion. We are obsessed with time management. We buy planners, we download apps, we try to squeeze 25 hours of work into a 24-hour day. But Ferriss argues that we shouldn't be trying to do more. We should be trying to do drastically less. Focus on being productive instead of busy. Society rewards personal sacrifice over actual contribution. If you sit at a desk for 12 hours shuffling papers and answering pointless emails, your boss will pat you on the back and call you a hard worker. But you haven't actually accomplished anything. Being busy is often just a form of lazy thinking. It's a way to avoid doing the few uncomfortable things that actually matter. To eliminate the useless work in your life, you need to apply 2 monumental principles. The first is the 80-20 rule, also known as Pareto's Law. This principle states that 80% of your outputs come from 20% of your inputs. Ferriss applied this to his own struggling business. He analyzed his customer base and realized that just 5 out of his 120 customers were bringing in 95% of his revenue. Meanwhile, a tiny fraction of his customers were causing 100% of his headaches, complaints, and stress. So what did he do? He did the unthinkable. He fired his worst customers. He literally told the toxic, high-maintenance clients to take their business elsewhere. Instantly, his work week dropped from 80 hours to 15 hours, and his income skyrocketed because he could focus entirely on his best clients. Ask yourself honestly, what 20% of your tasks are producing 80% of your results? And what 20% of your tasks are causing 80% of your stress? Identify the fat and cut it out completely. The second principle is Parkinson's Law. Think about the last time you had a whole week to finish a simple project. You probably dragged it out, overthought the details, and wasted days. But when you only have 2 hours before a massive deadline, you miraculously become a machine. This is the beauty of artificially shrinking your deadlines. By giving yourself drastically less time, you force your brain to focus only on what actually moves the needle. And to pull this off in today's hyper-connected world, you have to actively filter out the noise. We are drowning in a sea of notifications, endless news feeds, and group chats. You have to cultivate the discipline to ignore things. Stop treating every email ping like a life-or-death emergency. When you restrict your availability and stop consuming useless digital calories, you reclaim hours of your life every single day. Doing something unimportant well does not make it important. He challenges you to batch your tasks. Instead of leaving your inbox open all day and reacting to every ping, check your email only twice a day, say at 12 p.m. and 4 p.m. Train your colleagues and clients to understand that you are not a 24/7 digital servant. When you stop letting other people dictate your schedule through interruptions, you take your power back. Step 3. Automation. Putting income on autopilot. All right, you've redefined your goals and you've eliminated the busy work. But how do you actually make money while you're sleeping or while you're hiking in the Swiss Alps? This brings us to automation. For the entrepreneurs watching, this section is your holy grail. Ferriss talks about creating a muse, a self-sustaining business architecture that generates cash without requiring your physical presence. The goal of a muse is not to build the next Apple or Google. The goal is to build an automated system that funds your ideal lifestyle. Never automate something that can be eliminated, and never delegate something that can be automated. How do you do this? First, you find a highly specific niche market. Don't try to sell to everyone. Find a specific group, like rock climbers or amateur bass fishermen, and figure out what they need. Then you test the product before you ever manufacture it. Ferriss explains how you can use simple online ads to test if people will actually click buy on your product idea before you spend a dime on inventory. Once the product is validated and selling, you remove yourself from the equation. This is the magic of outsourcing and geographic arbitrage. You can hire virtual assistants in places like India or the Philippines for a fraction of what it costs locally. You can use fulfillment centers to warehouse and ship your physical products. You can hire call centers to handle customer service. The real magic happens when you realize you don't have to be the bottleneck for every single decision. We live in a global, interconnected economy where you can hire incredibly talented freelancers from anywhere in the world for a fraction of what your own time is worth. But the secret to getting your time back isn't just hiring people, it's empowering them. The biggest mistake managers make is demanding that every tiny issue crosses their desk for approval. You have to give your team the authority to make small decisions without you. Imagine telling a contractor, if a problem costs less than $50 to solve, don't ask me, just handle it. The sheer amount of mental bandwidth you get back from that one shift is staggering. You transition from being a tired, overworked employee in your own business to the architect of a self-sustaining system. Even if you are an employee, learning to delegate and use virtual assistants is a superpower. It trains you to be a manager of systems rather than a doer of tasks. Step 4. Liberation. Escaping the office. We finally arrive at the ultimate goal, liberation, breaking the physical chains that bind you to a single desk in a single city for 50 weeks a year. And if you own your business, you've achieved this through automation. But what if you are an employee? Can you really achieve this? Yes, you can. So how do you actually escape the physical office if you have a boss? You don't do it by throwing a tantrum or issuing ultimatums. You do it by building undeniable leverage. The strategy is to prove with hard data that you are significantly more valuable to the company when you aren't distracted by office politics and endless meetings. Start small. Negotiate just 1 or 2 days working from home as a temporary experiment, and then make absolutely sure those are the most productive days of your entire week. Let the results do the talking. In the modern workforce, smart companies care about outcomes, not attendance. Once you train your employer to look at your output rather than the seat at your desk, the physical office becomes completely optional. Gradually, you expand the remote days until you are fully liberated. Take the story of Dave Camarillo, an employee at Hewlett-Packard. Dave wanted to travel to China to meet his girlfriend's family and propose, but he didn't have the vacation time, so he negotiated taking his tech support calls remotely. He forwarded his calls, flew 6,000 miles across the Pacific, and spent a month in China without his bosses ever realizing he had left the country. He delivered the results, so his location didn't matter. If you don't have attention, you don't have time. Once you are liberated, you face the final, and perhaps most difficult challenge of the new rich. What do you do with your life now? There is a hidden danger to achieving total freedom, and it's something very few people talk about, the psychological void. When you suddenly strip away the daily grind, you might expect pure bliss, but what often rushes in is a terrifying sense of emptiness. For years, we use being busy as a shield. It protects us from having to figure out what actually brings us joy. When that shield is gone, you have to face yourself. This is why the ultimate goal isn't just to stop working. It's to start engaging with the world on a deeper, more meaningful level. Instead of rushing through foreign countries like a frantic tourist trying to check off boxes, you finally have the luxury to slow down, immerse yourself in a new culture, master a difficult skill, or dedicate your time to a cause bigger than yourself. True wealth is having the mental space to figure out who you are when nobody is telling you what to do. Instead of binge traveling, Ferriss advocates for mini retirements. Relocate to one place, Buenos Aires, Berlin, Kyoto, for 1 to 6 months. Immerse yourself, and most importantly, fill the void of your free time with 2 things: continuous learning and service. Learn a new language, master a martial art, learn to dance the tango in Argentina, and give back. Volunteer, help others, improve the world around you. Boredom is the real enemy, not failure. When you remove the busy work, you finally have the space to engage in the things that make you feel truly alive. Key takeaways. We've covered an incredible amount of ground. To make this truly actionable for you right now, here are the top 7 takeaways you can apply this week. Number 1, do the fear-setting exercise. What are you putting off because you are afraid? Write down the absolute worst-case scenario if you quit your job or started that business. You will realize the worst case is just a temporary setback, but the cost of doing nothing is a lifetime of regret. Number 2, measure your relative income. Stop obsessing over your yearly salary. Look at how much you make per hour of your actual time invested. Wealth is having the freedom to control your time. Number 3, apply the 80-20 rule to your life today. Identify the 20% of tasks, clients, or even friends that are causing 80% of your stress and ruthlessly eliminate them. Then, identify the 20% of inputs bringing you the most joy and profit and double down on them. Number 4, compress your deadlines. Stop giving yourself a week to do a task that takes 2 hours. Use Parkinson's law to force yourself into hyper-focused execution. Number 5, go on a low-information diet. Stop watching the news constantly. Stop checking your email every 5 minutes. Batch your communications to twice a day. The world will not end, and your mental clarity will skyrocket. Number 6, ask for forgiveness, not permission. When you want to make a change that improves your efficiency, just do it on a trial basis. Show the results first, rather than arguing about the theory beforehand. Number 7, stop saving it all for the end. The concept of retirement is a hedge against worst-case scenarios, not a goal to sacrifice your youth for. Start planning a mini retirement now. You don't need $1 million. You just need the courage to redesign your lifestyle. A personal reflection. As we come to the end of this journey through the 4-hour workweek, I want to leave you with this thought. This book was published over a decade ago. Yes, some of the specific websites, software, and prices Tim mentions are outdated. But the core philosophy, lifestyle design, is more timeless and urgent today than it has ever been. We live in a world where we are constantly tethered to digital leashes. We wear burnout like a badge of honor. But being perpetually exhausted is not a virtue. Society will gladly take the best years of your life and give you nothing but a gold watch and a fragile pension in return. You have the permission to step off the treadmill. You have the permission to design a life where work serves you rather than you serving your work. You don't have to quit your job tomorrow to apply this. You just have to start questioning the default assumptions you've been handed. I highly encourage you to pick up a copy of the 4-Hour Workweek. Read it, wrestle with it, let it challenge you. What is one habit you are going to eliminate today? Are you going to stop checking your email first thing in the morning? Are you going to cut out the toxic 20% of your workload? Let me know in the comments below. If this video shifted your perspective, please hit the like button, share it with a friend who is stuck in the daily grind, and subscribe to the channel for more book summaries that will change the way you see the world. Your time is the only truly finite resource you possess. Stop waiting for someday, because someday is a disease that takes your dreams to the grave. Choose your freedom today. Thanks for watching.